You may be mounting your shotgun perfectly and still mounting it too late. That sounds impossible. After all, if the gun ends up in the right position, what difference does half a second make? A huge difference. Because by the time your gun reaches your face, the target may have already changed direction, gained distance, or simply moved beyond the moment when your eyes had the clearest picture. And here's the frustrating part. You may never realize it's happening. You blame your lead. You blame your eyesight. You blame the target. Maybe you even blame the shotgun. But the real problem can begin before the gun ever reaches your shoulder. Today, we're going to break down exactly why experienced shooters sometimes mount too late, how that timing destroys consistency, and the simple way to retrain it. And stay until the end, because the final drill is one of the easiest ways to discover whether you're actually mounting late. Point 1. The hidden timing error. Let's start with something most shooters don't think about. The mount isn't the beginning of the shot. Your eyes are already working. Your body is already moving. Your hands are already preparing. And your gun should be moving into the shot as that process develops. But many shooters do this instead. See target. Think about target. Decide to shoot. Then lift the gun. That tiny delay is where the trouble starts. The target isn't waiting for you. A clay target might already be traveling dozens of yards per second while you're still bringing the gun into position. And the longer you wait, the more your brain has to catch up. Now, here's the important distinction. Mounting early doesn't mean rushing. In fact, rushing is often the opposite of what you want. The goal is early preparation, smooth movement, and a controlled mount. Think of it like catching a baseball. You don't wait until the ball reaches your glove before moving your hand. Shotgun shooting works the same way. Your gun should arrive at the correct position before the target forces you to panic. And here's where this gets interesting. Because fixing the timing isn't just about moving the gun sooner. It's about changing when your brain decides to move. Point 2. Your eyes are the real starting line. Here's a question. When you call pull, what moves first? Your hands? Your arms? Your gun? The answer should be your eyes. Your eyes should acquire the target before the gun takes over your attention. This matters because your visual system is incredibly sensitive to movement. If you stare at the gun as you mount it, you're giving your brain two competing jobs: track the target and monitor the shotgun. That's a terrible bargain. Instead, your eyes should stay connected to the target while your hands quietly bring the gun into the picture. This is especially important as we get older. There's no shame in that. Experience is an advantage. But experience also teaches us that trying to force speed usually creates tension, and tension creates jerky movement. Jerky movement creates inconsistent mounts, and inconsistent mounts create inconsistent shots. So rather than asking, "How can I mount faster?" ask, "How can I begin the mount earlier without rushing?" That's a much better question, because the best shooters aren't necessarily the fastest. They're often simply earlier, and that leads to one of the biggest mistakes I see. Point 3. The shoulder isn't your start button. A lot of shooters think of the mount as one giant movement. Gun comes up, stock hits shoulder, cheek hits stock, eyes find the rib, pull trigger, done. But a smooth mount is more like a sequence. Your hands guide the gun, your arms control the movement, your shoulder receives the stock, your cheek finds the stock naturally, and your eyes remain focused on the target. When these pieces happen together, the gun seems to disappear. That's what you're looking for. Not a dramatic movement, not a violent snap, not a race, a quiet mount. Here's a simple test. Stand in your normal shooting position without ammunition. Pick an imaginary target. Now make your normal mount. Then ask yourself, did I move the gun because I saw the target? Or because I suddenly remembered I was supposed to shoot? That distinction is enormous. Because if the gun only starts moving after your brain has completely processed the target, you're probably behind the shot. And there's another problem. When shooters realize they're behind, they often try to compensate by accelerating the gun. That's when the mount becomes aggressive. The muzzle jumps, the head moves, the eyes lose the target. And suddenly, one small timing mistake becomes 3 separate mistakes. But there's a way to catch this before it reaches the range. Here's a funny thought. If your shotgun could talk, It might be saying, "I'm ready, are you?" And that's exactly the problem. The gun is often waiting for the shooter. The shooter should be preparing the gun. Point 4. The early but slow mount. Here's the drill, and you don't need a clay target. You don't even need ammunition. You can practice it safely at home with the firearm completely unloaded and following all applicable safety rules. Pick a fixed point on the wall. Imagine it's a clay target. Start in your normal, ready position. Now imagine the target appearing. The instant your eyes identify it, begin the mount. But here's the trick. Mount at about half speed. Not fast, not slow motion, just smooth. Your goal is to make the gun arrive at your normal shooting position while your eyes remain locked on that imaginary target. Repeat it, again and again. What you're teaching your brain is something very specific. See first, move early, arrive smoothly. After several repetitions, you'll begin to notice something. The gun doesn't need to be thrown into position. It can simply arrive. That's the feeling you're looking for. And once you have that feeling, you can gradually increase the speed. But never sacrifice the visual connection, because here's the trap. A shooter can become very fast at mounting the gun and still become worse at shooting. Speed without visual discipline is just faster chaos. Point 5. Why you keep mounting late. Now let's uncover the deeper reason. For many shooters, the problem isn't physical, it's psychological. They don't trust themselves. They see the target and hesitate. Is that the right line? Should I wait? Is it going fast enough? Am I ahead? And while the brain is asking questions, the target is already leaving. That's why confidence matters. Not reckless confidence, prepared confidence. You've practiced the movement enough that you don't need to negotiate with yourself every time a target appears. See it, recognize it, begin the movement, and let the technique you've practiced take over. This is one of the great advantages of experience. You don't need to become the fastest shooter on the range. You need to become the most predictable version of yourself. And that brings us to the final piece. Because even if you fix your timing, there's one mistake that can still make the entire mount feel wrong. Point 6. Don't chase the target. Here's the rule I want you to remember. Don't chase the target with the gun. Let your eyes lead. Let the gun follow. Let the mount happen underneath your visual focus. If you wait until the target is already moving away from you before you begin mounting, you're asking the gun to catch up. And when the gun has to catch up, everything becomes rushed. Your hands rush, your head moves, your eyes work harder, your confidence drops. And suddenly, a target that should have been routine feels difficult. But when you begin earlier, something changes. The shot feels slower. The target appears easier. Your movement becomes quieter, and your confidence starts coming back. That's the real secret. You aren't necessarily trying to become faster. You're trying to stop being late. So here's your challenge for your next practice session. Before you shoot a single target, make 20 smooth, unloaded mounts. Every repetition, see the imaginary target. Begin the mount early. Keep your eyes on the target. Bring the gun into position smoothly. Then reset. Don't chase speed, chase consistency. And when you step onto the station, remember the golden rule. See first. Move early. Arrive smoothly. Because the difference between being early and being late may only be a fraction of a second. But that fraction can completely change the shot. And if you want to take this one step further, don't stop with the mount. Because once your gun arrives at the right time, the next question becomes, is your gun actually coming to the right position? That's where a lot of shooters discover another hidden problem. I've covered that in the next video on this channel. Click the video on your screen now, and let's fix that next.